And I think I want to pin myself too. Okay. So before we dive in, also, can everyone see my screen okay? If you could give me like a thumbs up,
Yes,
or
we
I'm
can see.
seeing nods. Okay, cool. Thanks, y'all. Um, okay. Uh, Before we jump in, I just want to like ground us in what we're going to talk about today, because some of y'all might have signed up and then are like, "Wait, what did I sign up for?" So, hi, Anara. We are going to be talking about a self-care crisis, and like what self-care actually is. And I'll talk about my personal experience with stress and burnout. I'll give you some tips and we'll go through some exercises and do some practice. And then I'm going to walk y'all through a science backed framework to support your self care practice. And I'm really excited to be launching a new offering from Aurora House that directly supports everything that we're going to be talking about today. And this is so exciting to be online and to have so many of y'all here. Like, we really can't do this in person, which is cool. And then I will close out with three daily journal prompts that take less than 5 minutes. So you can like take a screenshot of and keep forever. Alrighty. One housekeeping item. My amazing VA Raleigh is here on the call. And so if you have any like questions or like if I am not answering a question because I can't see the chat, please send Raleigh a note and they will send me a note on WhatsApp so that I can see. Because I should have multiple screens going on here, but I like this part of my house and the internet's good. So we're we're prioritizing that. All right, let's dive in. I want to start with my like deepest heart's desire for everyone anyway, like in general, and everyone here. And maybe if you want to like close your eyes and receive this, whatever feels like, I'm going to read this to you verbatim, and I just want y'all to like receive it. May you be reminded that you contain multitudes, and that the only way to truly experience those multitudes is by coming back to yourself regularly. May you learn the language of your body, learn how to safely dive into the depths of your subconscious and surface with the material destined to transform you, and how to hold and be held in community. You deserve to know you deserve to know and experience your full self. Knowing she's in there somewhere is not enough. My cat Santiago chimes in and says, yes. Okay. If everyone could jump into the chat and introduce themselves, I would love that. Everyone's names are already on your Zoom. So if you could say where you are in the world, three emojis that describe you, and one word to describe how you're feeling. And also, take a look at like the top of the chat where it says everyone and make sure that you're sending messages to everyone. I found that I was sending messages to like an AI in another meeting the other day. Hi, Dia.
Hey.
We're sending in the chat, where are you in the world? Three emojis that describe you and one word to describe how you're feeling. Wahoo. Hey, Kaylee. Hi, Jill. Love these. Cat cupcake, I'm about that. Hmm, I feel that. Thanks for sharing. Thank you, Liz. Yes, beautiful, Landry. Yay. Butterfly French fries. Love that. So glad you're here, Deegan. Oh my gosh, I'm so jealous. I want to go to the beach. Amazing. PMSing. All right. I hopefully have some support for you, Mary. Um, okay, while we're in the chat, I would love for y'all to drop one or two numbers from this slide about what attracted you to this workshop. And so I'm going to read these and then repeat myself. So I am burned out and need a self care reset. I feel like I'm doing everything right. I'm healthy, I exercise, I go to therapy, but still feel anxious or like I'm missing something. I'm a devout self care girly and just curious about what else is out there. I'm actively working on becoming the best version of myself and looking for practices to support me. And if there's something else, feel free to drop it in the chat. 2 and 4, two and fours. Beautiful. All right, midlife crisis, let's go. Awesome. Yeah, we'll talk about the spurts for sure. Beautiful. Love that. Awesome. Thanks, Callie. You're getting creative with numbers, starting now. Okay, cool. This is awesome. I hope that y'all are seeing other people in the chat who are saying your same numbers and feeling seen and not alone. Okay, we're going to start with a little grounding. And so I invite you to get comfortable, and we'll be here for maybe about like 7 minutes. So when you are ready, go ahead and close your eyes. Or if you don't feel comfortable closing your eyes because of where you are, you can find a spot on the ground in front of you, or if you're lying down above you. And just tune in to your body and what's going on. Feel where your body meets the earth or wherever you're sitting. Maybe you can feel your clothing on your skin, or you're lucky enough to be feeling the wind on your skin. And I want you to imagine coming out of the base of your spine are roots that are going down into the earth. And they're going down through all of the layers of the earth. And as you transcend down, or ascend down, descend into the earth, you can feel Mother Earth making way for you, but also holding you. And I want you to, as you breathe, start sending any energy down from today that you no longer need to be holding on to into your root system and releasing that into the earth. I don't want to alarm or surprise anyone, so I'm gonna play the singing bowl really quickly and just enjoy it. Breathe it out. Let it go. Breathe it out. Let it go. Breathe it in. Let it out. Breathe it in. Let it go. I want you to imagine, if you saw the picture on the slide, being at the water's edge. And if you didn't and you don't want to open your eyes, being in a foresty marsh at the water's edge. And as you look out across the water, you see a horse approaching the water to take a sip and to refresh itself. And as it starts to lean towards the water, you realize a horn coming off of its head. You blink your eyes a couple times to make sure you really are seeing what you think you're seeing. And you notice that just in the moment that you accept and believe that you're looking at a unicorn, it picks its head up and looks directly in your eyes. And it starts to walk into the water directly towards you. And as it approaches you, it's as though it knows you. And it sidesteps up to where you're sitting, and it is a clear invitation to get on. So you do. And when you get on its back, you're overcome with a deep sense of peace and familiarity. But the type of familiarity that you feel like when you go to a city for the first time, but somehow it feels like home. And this unicorn is walking through the water very purposefully. Where is it taking me? You wonder. What does it know about me? What is it trying to tell me? As you get lost in your thoughts and curiosities and sense of wonder, you doze off right on its back. you begin to wake up, you're back in the spot that it picked you up at. No unicorn or horse in sight. Was that a dream? Was that a message? It doesn't really matter because the sense of wonder and curiosity that you felt is still ringing through your body. Something awakened within you. What did it know about you? And how can you go find out? When you're ready, you can come back into your body. Maybe wiggle your toes or your fingers. You can give yourself a hug. And open your eyes whenever you're ready to come back. How's everyone feeling after that? Thumbs up. Awesome. Yeah, that's really nice after a long day of work. Thanks for going on that journey with me. All right. Who resonates with this? I don't even need to read the slide. Like, I'm sure that show of hands, like, does this look familiar? Basically, we are all stressed out. We're de-stressed and distressed, not de-stressed, anxious and burned out. And if 1 in 3 women are reporting frequent mental distress, then 3 in 3 women are probably reporting like general mental distress. And most people between the ages of 20 and 45 are feeling some level of anxiety and stress and burnout. Obviously, we're overstimulated as fuck. And overstimulation leads to dissociation. So, numbing out and disconnecting from reality, disconnection from each other, and disembodiment. So, disconnection from our bodies. And we are sold a narrative in pop culture that is hyper focused on rest and recovery. And while rest is critical to restoring our resources, if we are skipping half of the equation, then skipping straight to rest actually can further eat into the resources that are intended for us to reconnect and actually come back online. So I'm gonna have y'all do a little like screen time. If you feel brave and you want to throw your screen time in the chat, please feel free. If you go to your, I see men's face. If you go to your settings in iPhone and search screen time, on Android, it's called digital well-being. And this is my screen time from today, actually. Apparently I was in my notes app for 2 hours. I see lots of researching going on. 9 hours, dot, 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 dot. All on Timothy Chalamet's Instagram page. Nice. Kaylee. Yeah. Yeah. It's so crazy how quickly it adds up. Like, I truly don't understand it because today, like, I spent a lot of time on my computer and I just don't understand. But I more or less trust technology on that front. Um, well, yeah, we're all in the same boat for sure. And I like from a burnout perspective, have a deep toxic history with burnout. I previously was at a startup, an AI startup here in Austin, and I actually had a very, very steep rise up into C-level, like being a C-level executive. So I was curious and I went back through my timeline and I became director of product at 29 and I had no technical background. And yeah, I was leading the product strategy for an AI, like very uh, deep AI infrastructure. And we had 12 people at the company at that point. And I became VP of product at 30, so about a year later. And I was tasked with scaling the business from 15 when I became VP of product to 75. And when I did that successfully was when my CEO asked me to step up into COO role. And I had a obviously like my nervous system was having to react and adjust to rapid change and rapid responsibility stacking in a way that I like thank God I was young because like I had a naivete that helped me just like dive right in. But I lived in a mode of reactivity and of course like constant urgency. And we all know the story of chronic stress leading to chronic illness. And we were traveling every week, and there were points where I was working 7 days a week for a month, and I was living with chronic pain. When I was traveling with my CEO, like I would have to tell him every time that I was on my period because I would be like I wouldn't be able to make breakfast in the morning because I couldn't stand up. And so I finally was diagnosed with endometriosis in 2023. And that is me going into surgery to have my endometriosis removed to the degree that they could. And so that surgery was a massive turning point for me in terms of changing my lifestyle and leaving corporate ultimately. But my rise up into like C-level executiveship. So back in 2022 and like, yeah, in 2021, but in 2022, I found an at-home art therapy practice. And I found it on the anniversary of a very traumatic event in my life. And so I like leaned in all the way. And I was able to pour my emotions onto a page and also document in real life what like document my real life and like what was going on, and all of a sudden a spaciousness between the two bubbled up and in a way that I had never experienced before, especially living in like reaction mode. Also often if that's the case you're living in like your triggers as well. And so this created a lot of space for me to be able to look at my internal world, both mentally and also physically in my body. Like, what is the trauma that I'm carrying in my body and what's happening in my external world? And how do I want to respond to that as opposed to reacting? And so I would come home after work and I would eat dinner and then I would go online or like search around for art therapy prompts, or a lot of them I just made up, and I would sit there and either I started with colored pencil there on the left, and by the time we got into 2023, I was using my watercolors, and I left my job in January of 2024 and started Aurora House in June of 2024, which is really crazy considering that I was recovering from burnout and then now starting a business. And I ran away to Asia and did an eat, pray, love trip in the middle. And on that trip, I was reading Women Who Run with the Wolves. And my intention for that trip was to invite my feminine energy back to the forefront and, and really like lay down the masculine armor that I had to wear in tech. And as I did that, coming back to Austin, I desperately wanted a space where I could come and other women could come and exist together and unlearn the constructs placed on us, and to create and take agency over our lives and our stories. And about 9 to 12 months into Aurora House, I was back in major burnout. And I still go through cycles of burnout. Like, that is the reality I think that we just live in general. But this time around was very, very different for me. And the core element for me in this burnout was my community that was being built. Hold on, I'm gonna let someone in. Okay. And so this community that came together through Aurora House, we were regularly practicing self-care and reflection together. And we were building practices together. We were learning from each other and witnessing each other in our growth, being witnessed in our growth, and being like there for each other through like all the highs and lows. And having that community really helped me to like build my own practice and take what I was learning in community home with me to create a practice of presence at home, and also claiming the authority to be the author of my own life. And I call that authoring. So I was journaling constantly. I still journal constantly, visual journal. That picture there is all of the journals that I have kept over the last 2 years. And I think that, there have been many times where I feel like the world is crashing in on me. And I have collected the tools and support to be able to soothe myself and inspect what's going on and adapt. And even like if y'all if y'all were kind of in my ether a year ago and interacting with me a year ago, you know for a fact that my nervous system today is very, very different from where my nervous system was a year ago. And this practice of like regularly coming together, being present and authoring has unlocked me creatively in ways that I had like really did not expect. Even though like my whole drumbeat is on creativity, like the spaciousness and the like self-inquiry that that came up and occurred really like reconnected me to things that I had lost in my life. And DJing is an amazing example. I was a wedding DJ like 10 years ago and it was always a party trick. And yeah, now I'm like DJing every weekend. And that I have created space in my life because I have learned how important that is to me. And I get into a flow state when I'm in that space. And so through this process, I have learned how to block off time for myself every single day for self-care. But how I use that self-care time is very, very different based on, honestly, like on the day. So for me, self-care is a ritual for nurturing ourselves regularly so that we may have the energy to realize our full potential, create, and live with deep purpose. If we're practicing self-care in any capacity, I assume that we have, if you think about like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like we have all of the basics. We have physical safety, We have access to resources. We have love and belonging in some sense. We have family, we have friends, we may have partners, and then we have esteem. Even if we might rate ourselves variably on these things, like we all have a sense of self worth, and generally, like we are self caring because we are showing up for other people and or because we have a sense of self-worth that compels us to take care of ourselves. So the rest and the regular reflection is what supercharges self-care, and evolves it from a reactive self-care practice, so like recovering from showing up for family, to a proactive self-care practice centered on growth and realizing our full potential. And that underlines word why I bring up Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Those underlined words there are the like definition of self-actualization, which is like the very top of Maslow's triangle. So we're going to do a little journal prompt, and I'm going to read this to you, and then I want y'all to like take a minute to just like sink into your body. So what happens in my body when I read each of the following statements? My self-care is recovering from overstimulation and having to show up for everyone else. My self-care is replenishing my energy in order to realize my potential. We'll take one more minute of journaling. And as we wrap up our journal practice here, I would love to invite two or three people to share what came up for them. Feel free to, like, I think you could probably just come off of mute. But if you feel compelled to do a hand raise, that I support that. Yeah.
I'll share. Um, okay, what I wrote about I kind of put them in like two columns. So like when I'm doing self-care in the form of recovering from overstimulation, um I think tend to navigate towards things that are like a quick hit of what feels like relaxing. So, like, that can be scrolling, like, oh, I haven't looked at my phone all day. I want to see what's going on. I like pop culture, whatever. And then I end up getting sucked into the hole that I'm sure we're all familiar with. And I end up sort of like dissociating, feeling like I'm just consuming or over consuming. And then I end up feeling like guilty because I'm like, well, that's what I did with my free time. So it's like not very nourishing. And then on the other hand, when I'm doing things that are like replenishing my energy, I feel like I lean towards things that help me with like self discovery, adventure, gratitude. So that's like traveling, creating, spending like intentional time with friends or family, having deep conversations, watching like a movie, like going to the movies or like going to a museum, things like that. And it's like interesting because there's consumption in that as well, but it's just different. So,
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you, Callie. It's more intentional. Yeah. Anyone else want to share?
For
I'll
me,
share.
oh, you go first.
Let's do men and then we'll do Deegan.
Okay. For me, I put for what happens in my body when I read each of the following statements. For self-care, recovering from overstimulation and having to show up for everyone else, I read that as more of like me not really thinking of myself. If I'm recovering from overstimulation, having to show up for everyone else, the that phrase itself, you're already thinking about others rather than putting yourself first. And I feel like that makes me stressed because it's like I'm overstimulated. I have to not. Okay, all these people made me feel this type of way. Okay, what can I do to not feel that anymore? And I think for me personally, like having that mindset makes me feel like I have a weight on my shoulders. Whereas if I switch my mindset into thinking self care for replenishing my energy in order to realize my potential, it's like putting myself first. And that I feel like it's a much more freeing for me. And it's like a weight being lifted off. And so I can truly relax and ground myself better. That's how I kind of interpreted the journal prompt.
Yeah, thank you. Beautiful. And like when you've done that, then you can show up for other people better. Yeah. Deegan, would love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, even when you just read these out loud, I have these 2 points in my shoulders that are like my warning signal anytime I feel stressed. It's like I feel it right here immediately. And so even just hearing you say like recovering from overstimulation and showing up or having to show up from other people, like I could feel it. And then as soon as you said the other one, which was more like self focused and energy and resting, then I could feel it like go back down. I felt it in real time. So really learning to work with the cues that my body's sending.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. I totally feel the same way. Even like writing this slide, I was like, oh. But thankfully, it ends on a good note. Okay, thank y'all so much for sharing. I am gonna keep moving forward here. So I've got a lot of screens going on over here. I know you can't really see, but I like seeing your faces. So I have like everything, have everyone's boxes showing. Um, but like to everyone's point, unplugging without regular reflection blocks us from learning and adapting and like really recharging. And so oftentimes skipping straight to that like recovery as like, oh my gosh, like I'm just overstimulated and like I'm just like exhausted or whatever it is, that often leaves us feeling hollow or misunderstood or even isolated because we haven't stopped to start processing or integrating our experiences ourselves. And I mean, we'll talk about like how this works in a cycle, but like, there is pretty much every time that we experience a stressor, an opportunity to like stop before we rest and like reflect on what's happening in our bodies at least, so that we can decide how we want to address that next time, and also like what is the right self-care in response to this thing happening, or this like busy week or busy day or fight with a partner. And so when we are not doing this like regular reflection, it's really hard to even know what our needs are, self-care and beyond, boundaries, desires, and we can't receive support for the things that we can't articulate or the things that we don't want to confront. And like, we don't even get close to considering our full potential, our multitudes, or our purpose when we're in that like reactive recovery state. And so, this like regular self inquiry brings us down to the ocean floor of our subconscious, where the inner parts of ourselves that want to show us and teach us and remind us of things has settled. And, you know, my daily practices are not always going deep into the subconscious, but self inquiry is a muscle. And so some days it's really heady. Some days it is like complaining about like the internet not working or whatever it is, like something so trivial that I just like can't get my mind off of. But on the days that are like surprisingly like, okay, I just went super deep. It happened to me today. And I ate dates with my 3-year-old self and my 12-year-old self. And like, that was really cool, completely unexpected. And so having that muscle, I was able to like really lean into that and like create the space for that because that was clearly like what was wanting to come up. So, I'm curious if you could just drop in the chat one thing that you used to do that you loved that you haven't done in a long time. Dance class, play music, skipping in the rain. I love that. We've had a lot of rain. Hopefully it rains again for you soon. Yeah. Two dancers. Y'all gotta link up. Ice skating. Oh, jumping in puddles. I love these. Okay. We have a lot of dancers here. Also, if you follow my DJ Instagram, like y'all can make a plan together to come and dance together. Dia and Avalon are at a lot of the shows, and Callie, and Nicole. Okay, so let's talk about the science. Also, time is flying. We will go over the hour, but I will get through this quickly. This is like pretty fast, and then I'm really excited to share the program that we're launching with y'all. So, this is the adaptation cycle. And so we experience an activation, so a lion, and we mobilize, we react to it. And oftentimes in culture, like keep calm, carry on, we are going straight to restoration. And when we're doing this, it blocks us from being able to identify and learn that like, oh, a lion lives here. Maybe I like shouldn't make camp here. So this like deactivation from mobilization stage is critical for our cycle of adaptation or managing stress. This is also like the stress cycle. And so spending that time sensing, evaluating, and learning so that the next time we have that stimuli come in or something similar, then we have like a kind of a clear understanding of what we want to do. So obviously we're not running from lions, so I'm going to make this a little bit more relevant. We have, tons of notifications and urgency and like things being required of us. And when we are able to, hold on. If we skip straight to recovery, then one, we're exposing ourselves to perpetuating that cycle. And it also, it requires disproportionate energy to respond to that activation again. So, if you're in this cycle and, your boss is hitting you up and your husband or partner or wife is hitting you up, and then, you're just, in this, reactive urgency, and then you're like, oh my God, okay. Like Callie's example, you get home, you plop on the couch, and, you just go straight to Instagram and like numb out. That is what leads us to burnout. And so when we take the time, even for like just a few moments, to drop into our bodies and sense what's going on and evaluate, like, how do I want to respond to this situation now and moving forward, then we have the opportunity to learn, obviously adapt and change, maybe set boundaries. And when this cycle is healthily flowing, then we have surplus energy to be able to do the other things that we want to do. So whether that's creating or focusing on ourselves or supporting other people, but we got to do this first. So, yay, now you know your boundaries and you know how you want to reinforce them. Also, when we're skipping that deactivation, the like going to the reaction can like get disproportionately worse, or like we have like an outburst that doesn't match the activation, because again, we haven't like gone through the full cycle. But this is not a 2D cycle. It's more like an upward spiral. So I call this the upward spiral of self-actualization. So we are the accumulation of learnings and adaptations throughout our life, for better or worse, but we are constantly spiraling upwards. And this is why, when we learn something and we go and we integrate it into our lives, then we're like given a test to see like, oh, are you going to do that thing again? Or did you really learn? And we see that often, where I call it spiraling up. And like, as that test comes, you can like look over the edge and be like, oh, I see how I reacted to that last time, and I'm going to change that. I was lucky enough to be at a conference. I actually DJ'd a silent disco that Andrew Huberman was at. He was our like the big headliner, and he, in his talk, shared some research that he hadn't released yet at the time, and he was looking at how our brain changes and like neuroplasticity, and how we can like contribute to like increasing our neuroplasticity. And ultimately, like, his number one, like, how you do that is self-reflection. And so identifying what went wrong, what went right, what are the gaps. And when you can identify the gaps, then our brains iterate on that material while we are not actively thinking about it. And so most of that happens when we sleep. But I mean, I think that like I have experienced this in waking life, where like I can just feel like, I'm driving or whatever, and like this thing that I have been trying to unravel, all of a sudden, like that moment of clarity comes. And so I love this so much, because like self-reflection, the way the journal prompts that I'll share are inspired by his journal prompt. It's so easy. So like this daily self-reflection does not need to be like, who am I and where am I going and what's my purpose? But like the answers to those questions, or little like inspiration or sparkles of those questions, get answered when we're consistently self-reflecting. So I am redefining self-care as a practice of devotion to becoming my best self. So it incorporates the reflection and the rest to serve me becoming my best self, and then everyone around me benefits when I am actively working on becoming my best self. And so I want to walk through my framework for becoming, and speak more to like my practice of presence and authoring. And this is like really simple. And I know it's going to resonate with a lot of y'all. I know we have some therapists and facilitators in the audience. But from a presence perspective and building a presence practice, the first thing is that body connection. And we've done this a couple times now on this call. learning the language of your body and really listening to it. So Deegan gave a great example. Like she immediately could feel that tension in her traps. And that is a signal to her that, like, ooh, that does not make me feel good. And so then when we get those signals, we have an opportunity to reflect and like really inquire, like, okay, what's my body telling me about that? And how do I want to process that? Is that something that's like in the moment? Is that like old programming? And this is where like the reflection process really starts to like go deep. And from an authoring perspective, responding to what you learn and actually exploring like the application of that reflection. And creation doesn't have to mean like going and doing a watercolor, but there is something that helps us to like really embed like our learnings and processing through the creative practice, that is very difficult to achieve, at least in my experience, in any other way. And then community is a core element of this. If you are doing something behind the scenes and you're not telling anybody about it, it's very difficult to live that out, to integrate that and embody that in your everyday life. Because when you share what you are doing, what you've reflected, what you've learned, what you've created, then people can see you, they can understand you. That in itself, like that is meaningful connection that is like a foundational pillar of what we need in life. They can validate you, they can ask how they can support you. And there's one other, I'm losing my train of thought here, but community is like the key to like being witnessed and then learning how to integrate that into our lives. And so I'm going to go through a live example. So you get an invitation to go out and your body contracts. And so you're like, oh, I really don't want to go out. And so you sit with that and you reflect on that and you realize like, I actually like don't feel like talking to people right now. So you decide to stay in. Maybe you do a collage while watching a movie. And then you share your win. So share with a friend, like, I mean, even maybe that person, like, hey, I really didn't feel right going out tonight. And I stayed in and I made this thing. And I'm stoked about it. And it was really fun. And I feel replenished. And maybe now, like next time, invite me out because I think now I have space to go out. Or you can share your learning, share your creation with your friends. And then integrating that is I listen to my body and I don't feel guilty saying no, thank you. I'm just checking the chat here. Miss Frizzle's so amazing. Yeah. Yeah, I knew this would like this example would resonate, because I mean we all experience it, uh, and we experience it when like we don't want to experience it, which is like the most annoying moment. So before I go into journal prompts that you can use to kind of like integrate this framework into daily life, I'm going to jump into our program. And this is our first online remote offering that we are doing at Aurora House. And it's called 100 Days of Becoming. It's a practice of daily devotion to becoming and a guided community experience inspired by the Book of Alchemy. My bestie Avalon, who's on this call, gifted me this book. And like immediately when I started reading it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is like the like philosophy of Aurora House in the most accessible way to access like so this book is about journaling And I'll go into, so I'll show you an example of it here in a second. So this is for you if you're craving a deeper connection with yourself, but you need something that's grounded and approachable that fits into everyday life. If you want a reflective practice, but you've struggled to stay consistent on your own, or you don't know where to start. I know a lot of people who they want to journal, but they don't know where to start, or they want a prompt. And also, if you want to witness and be witnessed in community as you grow from implementing a regular reflection practice. So, 100 Days of Becoming is replacing 15 to 20 minutes of that screen time that we clocked earlier with a daily journaling practice from the Book of Alchemy. And so this book is made up of 100 essays that Suleika Jawad collected from people all throughout her life. The essays are a 2 to 3 minute read, and on average, I clock it every day just so that it is so easy to read these. They're so inspiring. And then your prompt is included at the end of the essay. You can respond to it. You can journal about whatever you want. And you get to pick your journaling time. So you can do 10 minutes. I sometimes set a timer. And sometimes on days where I have space, I have written things that I'm like, wow, I can't believe that was inside me. And with this program, we have a WhatsApp community where we'll have daily support, accountability, and reflection. So every day, I will send a little question that's in reflection of the prompt that day. And so one of the readings is called Figs. This is the reading I did this morning. And so the prompt is what food. It's about food. And so I'm asking, what food did you choose? So this is where we come together and we support each other and witness each other's reflections and witness each other's practices. And that witnessing has completely changed my life. I have a little altar on my coffee table that did not exist 3 years ago. And I never would have known how to do that or how to even intuit what feels good to put in my space that makes me feel connected to myself and connected to something higher than me. And then we also have a community portal, and this is a beautiful portal, and it has an amazing mobile app as well. And so in that, I will be doing, so there's 10 chapters in the book, and at the beginning of every chapter, there is a reading. And so I will put before the chapter starts, a video that you can watch that's 2 to 5 minutes and get a heads up on what to expect for that chapter. How long is that reading? What are the average lengths of time for the essays in that chapter? And anything else that I think would be helpful, because this is really meant to seamlessly integrate into your life. It's not adding a ton of time to your plate. I also will be sharing weekly creative prompts here, and we'll be doing 4 women's circles, June, July, August, and September. And that will be on the 3rd Tuesday of the month. And so that will feel much more interactive than this workshop. This is a lot of me talking and sharing. And so those are facilitated in a way that everyone gets to participate and really connect with each other one-on-one or 2-on-2. So after 100 days, you'll have built a daily connection practice. You'll have established a journaling practice, and you'll be in an intentional community dedicated to becoming their best selves and supporting each other. And I guarantee that you will have a deeper relationship with yourself and with your life, and you will be living in alignment with what's important to you. And that is a huge one. And you can only do that, you know the answers to what that transformation looks like. And so I'm really excited for those who sign up, what you do with the information that you find over the next 100 days. I think that's the most exciting part. If someone wants to start DJing with me, please let me know. So the cohort starts on this Sunday, the 14th. And so for 4 months of becoming and uh, the WhatsApp group, the portal, daily support, weekly creative prompts. It is a one-time investment of 197, and then we also have a payment plan. And if you are like, hell yeah, I want to do this, and you sign up tonight, I will also do a 20-minute onboarding or catch-up call with you. So you can use that anytime. If you like want a heads up on from an onboarding perspective, you're like, I really want to do this, but I'm not quite sure how to integrate it into my life. We can spend time doing that. Or like, on chapter 4, you're like, I don't want to do the reading. Like, can you please just catch me up on like what the intro is to this chapter? And I will like bring you up to speed. And then also too, if you sign up tonight, you'll get access to a private WhatsApp group where I'll be dropping weekly voice note mantras and also surprise meditations throughout the experience. And meditations for me are like, as they come, I will do them and record them. So I don't want to commit to a frequency because that is just the intuitive creative hit. So I am so excited for this program. And also to like have the ability for people who like can't come into Aurora House on a regular basis to be able to like be in community together. Okay, and then last slide here. These are the daily journaling prompts. If you want to take a screenshot of these, I have two options for the morning and midday, and one option for evening or bedtime. And I'm calling this the bedtime one grapes, gratefuls, and gaps. This is what was inspired by Huberman, but I added on the what are you looking forward to tomorrow, one thing you can do to support yourself, and one thing you can ask for support from someone else. That is a huge practice that's very, very important. So I don't know if anyone has any questions. I know we're like about 30 minutes over the hour, but would love to answer any questions if anyone has any. Or reflections. Sweet. I'm going to stop sharing. Um, Oh yeah, yeah. This book is like widely available. It's on Spotify, Kindle, Audible, of course Amazon, but it's highly accessible. So, and also in the portal, I will be putting the prompts if you like are listening to it and you really want to see like the written prompt. I'll be putting that in the portal so that you can read them. So, yeah, I'm excited. Please go ahead, Min.
I was gonna say, so it's basically kind of like a little book club too.
Yes, yeah, it's like a book club on crack.
Perfect.
Yeah, sweet. Thanks, Raleigh, for dropping that in the chat. Awesome. Well, I hope that this was supportive for y'all. And if you are starting a journaling and reflection practice tonight, I wish you luck. And I hope that the prompts that I shared on that last slide support you in getting started. And if you have any questions or want to connect one on one, please just shoot me an email. I think you can respond directly to the emails you've been receiving. Yay. Awesome.
Thank
Thanks, y'all.
you.
Have an amazing night.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye. Thank you.